Billionaire Elon Musk has said that he's going to shift the headquarters of the privately held SpaceX and social media site X from California to Texas. So he's going to Texas from California. Musk is calling Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to sign a new student gender identity law the final straw. Elon Musk has had enough. So have I. Next, we're going to talk about Madeline Brame. She's a New York mom who lost her 35-year-old son, Hason. And he was beaten, he was stabbed, he was attacked outside of their Harlem apartment building in 2018. Now, Hason was the father of 3, and he served in Afghanistan. And Madeline, his mother, a New York mom, spoke at the RNC. So we're going to get to that. And some footage from a hospital has been released. He says, I ran down the hallway toward the bathroom and I went, Karen, Karen, Karen. Trump was shot in the head. And Mr. Foerster told the Epoch Times that he was a rally attendee who had gone to the hospital. He was feeling kind of sick from the heat. It was 90 degrees that day. He was at the Trump rally, left to go to the hospital. Turns out Trump was at that same hospital and he starts filming. He got the call from a different rally attendee who was still at the rally. And that rally attendee had reported that Trump was shot in the head. I mean, really, he was shot in the head at his ear. And man, the footage coming out of this hospital is just, you could feel the energy in that hospital and how excited everybody was that he was okay, that Trump was okay. So we're going to get to all of those stories here coming in just a little bit. This is Conservative Cat. Good morning. Good morning. Man, got my cup of coffee. We are going to hit a lot of things today. So buckle in, turn up the dial, grab the kids, get them in front of the breakfast table. And let's talk about Joe Biden first. Okay. So one thing that I saw come out was that the Biden campaign, they had this really low energy presser. Joe Biden wasn't there. It was just a bunch of of his friends, I guess, or like the DEI hires, really. It was just a bunch of, millennial losers, really. That's everybody in the Biden administration. So the Biden campaign, they're in trouble. And the best that they could do is trot these people out there. And they projected their failures onto the Republicans and called Donald Trump Hitler. Okay, so that's what they did in this presser. It was a low energy presser. And I'm going to play some clips from that here coming up in just a bit. I also want to talk about J.D. Vance. So I just saw the film Hillbilly Elegy. So I definitely recommend you go out on Netflix, watch that. It's J.D. Vance's memoir. J.D. Vance, he spoke at the RNC convention and he spoke up for the Forgotten Americans. And it's really stirring with a lot of folks. And I think that's why J.D. Vance is the VP pick. After watching his memoir on Netflix, I was like, oh, this is why, because that Rust Belt vote. Now, Illinois is a kind of a part of this Rust Belt where we are just forgotten Americans. Where our manufacturing has just been shipped out overseas and people have lost their jobs. My dad was affected by that. A lot of you were affected by that. So we're going to chat about J.D. Vance, why he was the VP pick, and a little bit about his speech. So let's start here with the White House. The White House, they've spent the last 4 years trying to gaslight you and the masses into believing that reality is false. What you're going through is just false, and they're trying to gaslight you. They've gone as far as to claim inflation is a myth. Remember, inflation is a myth. Yeah, it's just fake. Don't listen to what the Republicans tell you about inflation. Inflation is a myth. They'll say Trump is Hitler. They'll say crime is down, but it doesn't take someone with a fraction. It takes someone with a fraction of a brain to know that the president of the United States, Joe Biden, former Vice President Joe Biden, respect the office. I really hate calling him President Joe Biden. It doesn't take somebody with a fraction of a brain to know that he was the worst and is the worst president in modern history. Everybody seems to be worse off because of him. Okay, and I'm just spewing facts. Okay, everybody's worse off because of him. You don't have as much spending power. Can we at least agree on that, leftist? One way progressives deal with this is by projecting all that they're guilty of onto the Republican Party and onto Donald Trump. So while you see grocery prices just spiking, increasing, they'll resort to two different tactics. First, they're going to blame it all on Donald Trump, even though it's definitely Biden's fault. And, everybody's like, oh, well, the president doesn't control the gas prices and the grocery prices. No, it's all top down. When you've got a bad egg at the top, then the rest of it's like a strawberry, right? So a moldy strawberry in a carton, that's Joe Biden. And if you've got a moldy strawberry in a carton, it affects everybody else in that carton. And this is why you start to see high gas prices, high grocery prices. So yes, it is Biden's fault. And when they say it's Trump's fault, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because he's not the current president. Trump is not the current president. So they lie and they psychologically project their failures onto the other side. Since the Dems have no real campaign, they did this really low energy presser yesterday, and they started fear mongering single issue voters. Okay, that's all they've got. They have no real campaign, so they just fear monger to single issue voters. They decided to spend the afternoon yesterday warning women that life is literally going to become The Handmaid's Tale. Have you seen this movie? It's where women are treated as property of the state. Okay, so they say, if you vote for Trump, you're going to become property of the state. Yeah, really toning down the rhetoric, really lowering the temperature, folks. And the only problem with that is that abortion isn't a top issue. So, yeah, you don't have real campaign. You're fear-mongering to single issue voters. Here's the issue, though. It's not even a good single issue because, especially considering when an empty wallet hits home to more Americans than abortion. So there you have it, folks. That was them at their presser yesterday. Very low energy. So some quotes from there. You heard it in the clip. The Republicans are lying to the American people about virtually every single issue that impacts their lives. And like I said, Joe Biden wasn't even there. This is just some people from the Biden-Harris campaign, some Democrats, people from his administration. And then, he goes on and he added, quote, and this was kind of hard to find. Donald Trump said he wants to be a dictator. Wow. These people, they can't even wait a week before they start with their Trump is Hitler lies. They can't even wait a week, not 1 week. So it's pretty crazy how they're saying Republicans are lying about every issue that affects every part of the American people's lives when the amount of destruction these people have caused is such a short amount of time. It's just incomprehensible. They've caused so much destruction. The Biden campaign is truly in trouble, folks. And the best they can do is project their failures onto Republicans and call Donald Trump Hitler. That's the best they can do. But they've been doing that for 8 years and have yet to come up with a new tactic, which is pretty telling, folks. So I do want to shift gears. I want to talk about Senator J.D. Vance, vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance. He took the stage at the Republican National Convention. Thunderous applause. I mean, you should hear the clips. It's boom, boom. Everybody's so excited to see J.D. Vance. He's truly the MAGA pick. I was a little bit worried about J.D. Vance. He's not Vivek Ramaswamy. I really wanted Vivek Ramaswamy. You guys know that. I think he's way more MAGA, and I think that the deep state hates him even more than Donald Trump because he's young, and they see that he could be a problem for decades, right? But Vance is the pick, and he was well loved at the RNC. The RNC is a place where delegates from across the country come together in Milwaukee this year, and they're very energized. This is what I'm hearing from Republicans across the state, these delegates. They're saying that the GOP is a new GOP where they're putting hardworking men and women first. They're upholding the values of the Bill of Rights above all else, and they're open to anyone who just wants to make America great again. Okay, great once again. So JD Vance, and if you haven't seen his memoir on Netflix, I highly recommend it. His mom was out in the audience, and he gave her a shout out, and he, said, "I love you, Mom," like any hometown hero would do. And he goes, I'm proud of her. She's sober, 10 years strong, and I'm so proud to say that tonight my mom is here, 10 years clean and sober. So he accepted the VP nomination. And what he really spoke about was just what really matters to him and why he got into politics. So, quote, he said, "It's about the energy worker in Pennsylvania and Ohio who doesn't understand why Joe Biden is willing to buy energy from dictators from across the world and not hardworking Americans right here at home." That's what he said. And I think we in Illinois really understand what JD Vance is saying there. Our manufacturing, our jobs have been shipped out. My dad, I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've seen addiction, and he says, "I'm doing this, and Donald Trump is doing this for the single moms like mine who struggled with money and addiction, but never gave up." And right here in the Rust Belt, I know Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Midwest, we really struggle with this. We struggle with heroin issues, overdoses in our families, your cousin, your second cousin, or your sister, your brother. And then, you're busting tail trying to make ends meet. And then what? They just ship your job out and then you get laid off, or Joe Biden doesn't even buy the product that your company is making. you know, uh, it doesn't make any sense. So JD Vance, he says, for the last 8 years, President Donald Trump has given everything he has to fight for the people of our country. He didn't need politics, but the country needed him. Prior to running for president, he was the most successful businessman in the world. He had everything anybody could ever want in life. And instead of taking the easy path, he endured abuse, slander, persecution. And he didn't have to. He said, you know what? He looked at that Pennsylvanian, he looked at the Ohio resident, the Illinois resident, and he said, "No, I got to do this. I got to do this for them." That's huge. And JD Vance talked about this, and he addressed the assassination attempt. But really, why he's the pick, this middle America, this Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, this is going to be, and I've said it before, that Rust Belt vote that's going to make or break the election. So they're the forgotten Americans, really. So JD Vance at the RNC, he called for national unity, for a calm. He remembered the victims of the terrible attack on July 13th. He talked about Corey, who gave his life to protect his family. And I'm excited for this new unity. I'm excited for this new GOP, who's truly going to be united in our love for America. And JD Vance, I'm really excited for him. I highly recommend you go check out the Netflix memoir. So I will be back. I've got to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Nope, you're good. Hey, good morning. I appreciate y'all tuning in each and every day. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel. Henry, good morning. Lord, may the Lord's blessing shine upon you. May the Lord's blessings shine upon you. I do want to share this clip with y'all here on the live stream. And like I said, folks, the live stream today is brought to you by Patriot Pump Energy. This is some really good stuff. This is the fruit punch flavor. It keeps me focused all day. It's a Christian conservative company. They love the show, and I highly recommend you go to patriotpumpenergy.com. Get yours today. It's a pre-workout, and you take it in the morning. You're caffeinated all day. You're focused all day. It's great. Let's take a listen to this clip here.
The Republicans yesterday and the day before have lied constantly to the American people. They've lied about positions on reproductive freedom. They've doubled down on harmful positions about everything. They've lied about crime statistics. They've lied about the economy. Today, we're going to hear them lie about foreign policy. Donald Trump says he wants to be a dictator. They're going to lie about their stance of NATO. They're going to lie about the security of our country. And we're focused on a process. Like, the Republicans are lying to the American people about virtually every single issue that impacts their lives. The Republicans, yes.
So there you have it, folks. They talked about Project 25 or 2025, which Donald Trump has continuously said that didn't come from my team. I don't know. I haven't seen that. There's some things in it that I like. There's some things in it that I don't agree with. Because I have no idea where this came from. This probably came from the left. This is their attempt to try to bash Donald Trump, prove that he's a dictator, said that he's going to be a dictator day one. Trump never said that. This is all based off of this Project 25 crap, which Donald Trump has come out numerous times and said, that didn't come from me. I don't know where it came from. That is not my plan for America. And those are not my policies. And not to mention, I mean, when you read through Project 25, I mean, it's not that bad. Yes, it talks about banning abortion, but like, hell yeah, right? But like I said, Donald Trump has said several times over the course of his presidency and the Supreme Court. I mean, it's really not even up to Donald Trump to ban abortion. I mean, he could if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. And he's said multiple times that we're going to leave it up to the states. But really, this is a Supreme Court issue. The Supreme Court heard it, and they said, "Hey, this is going to be a state's issue." So, yes, we are going to be back. We're going to be chatting a little bit more about some other things. I got to get to Elon Musk. He's a billionaire leaving California because of the policies implemented by Governor Gavin Newsom. This is hilarious because this is already a thing in Illinois, and they didn't even, I don't think, signed a law about this student gender identity law, which Elon Musk has called the final straw. If you're watching, go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be right back in just a little bit, also explaining Madeline Brame. She's a New York mom, and she spoke at the RNC the other day. And she spoke of her 35-year-old son, Hason. So Hason was beaten and shockingly stabbed outside of their Harlem apartment in 2018. So we are going to be chatting about her speech at the RNC. Like I said, go ahead and subscribe. We'll be right back. Good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Huh. I am just so grateful for the cooler temperatures. This morning I woke up, took the dog out, and I was like, man, it's so nice outside. Finally, a little bit cooler. I love the heat, folks. I love the heat. But what bothers me about the heat is when it doesn't cool down at night and you don't get like a break. So it's just constantly hot and humid. So grateful for the storms that came through, brought through this cold front. So hoping you have a blessed day today. We have so much to get through this morning, so I'm just going to jump right in. Billionaire Elon Musk said that he's going to shift his headquarters of the privately held SpaceX and social media site X, Twitter, to Texas from California. He said he's doing this because of Governor Gavin Newsom's recently signed law about student gender identity. And Elon Musk, he actually called this law the final straw. So we're going to get to that. And coming up in about 10 minutes, Madeline Brame, she's a New York mom. She lost her son. He's 35 years old. His name's Hason. He was beaten and stabbed in an attack at a Harlem apartment in 2018. Hason was a father. He had 3 kids. He served in Afghanistan. She spoke at the RNC the second day, where the theme was actually Make America Safe Again. And later, we are going to be talking about this hospital footage that came out. And he goes, I ran down the hallway toward the bathroom and I said, Karen, 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 Trump was shot in the head. So these people were at the emergency room, the Foersters. And I'll tell you about this video that has been circulating on social media. It's very wholesome, very the energy in that hospital where Trump had walked through the doors after he was shot is very electrifying. So I'm going to chat about these 3 stories here in the 6 o'clock hour. Communists, folks, they hate the family unit. And you might be asking yourself, why do commies hate the family unit? Well, it's because it's one of the biggest deterrents in their ideological brainwashing. If you have no family, chances are that you're going to be ideologically brainwashed into what the communists want for you. Okay, so the family unit, they hate the family unit because it deters you from their ideological brainwashing. And when it comes to adults keeping secrets from parents, we used to call that thing grooming. Okay, if an adult said, shh, 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 don't tell mommy and daddy, that's called grooming, folks. We used to call it that. But all of a sudden, progressives woke up one day and they decided socially transitioning kids without parental consent was the compassionate thing to do. And while schools cannot give kids an Advil, right, without parental consent, that doesn't serve true to this whole gender confusion thing. So if little Sally wants to become, Sammy, it is now the teacher's obligation in California to keep that from California parents. Okay, so from the parents. Now, I also want to point out, Kat, this is just in California. It's not my school. It's not my school. No, this has been going on for a couple of years already at District 87. So I don't know if Illinois has passed a law. I tried to figure that out this morning. It wouldn't surprise me if they passed a law, but I do know that the BEA, the Bloomington Education Association, and the Illinois Education Association, so the IEA, these teacher unions, they have their edicts and they've passed them down to teachers of District 87, and I have the proof right here. Quote, it is now a requirement that staff not out youth or disclose their identities to others, including the youth's parents, guardians, without that youth's written consent. So the youth has to write out a consent form and inform the teacher that, yes, it's okay to tell my parents that I'm, gay, or that I want to become Sammy if I'm Sally, or vice versa, right? So that was an email, and I just quoted the email sent to teachers of District 87, passed down from the BEA. So I don't know if Illinois has passed a law. I'm going to try to do some more digging, find that out. It wouldn't shock me that Illinois already passed a law similar to California's. However, this has been going on in Illinois schools because everything that comes out of the Illinois Teachers Union is just a decree. This is it law, So teachers are already doing this in your school, likely. If you attend definitely a public school, So yeah, in that vein, if Illinois hasn't passed a law, it's kind of really crappy, because at least California had the cojones to pass a law. We're just, following the edicts of the teachers union at this point in Illinois. But I'll find out if we've passed a law similar to California's. I don't think that we have. But I know teachers are following it because the Illinois Teachers Union passed this down via email. So under the presumption, of course, this law is just complete bogus in California because it presumes that all parents in the state of California are child abusers or guilty until proven innocent. State lawmakers have banned schools from implementing policies that require teachers to inform parents of students socially transitioning their gender. Okay, now that's what this law is. It's presuming, and it's under the presumption that all these parents are automatically child abusers, or they're going to treat their child terribly if they're outed to that said parent. Okay, and that's just wrong. To say that is evil and unconstitutional and innocent until proven guilty. Right? To say this is evil, and I mean, that's just an understatement. This is reprehensible. And Elon Musk is refusing to give the state any more tax dollars, and he's moving the SpaceX headquarters to the free state of Texas. So according to the New York Post, billionaire Elon Musk, who, by the way, has pledged $45 million a month to President Donald Trump. He officially gave his endorsement of Donald Trump. But anyway, so he's shifting these headquarters. He said it's the final straw. They signed the law Monday. This blocks school districts from requiring teachers to notify parents about changes in their students' gender identity or sexual orientation without the child's permission. So it also requires the law the state's Department of Education to create resources, spend taxpayer monies for families of LGBTQ plus students for 7th grade through high school. So likely what's going to wind up happening is the Californians they're going to have to start paying for little Sally to start wearing, I don't know, boys' clothes. Okay, so that's what that sounds like. Resources for families of LGBTQ students. So that means, whatever the transitioning child needs in that moment, that might be a hair clip. Your tax dollars are going to be paying for Sammy's hair clip because he wants to be a little girl. Okay, so since when is it the school's job to hide the sexual orientation of minors? Seems a little messed up. Seems a little creepy. People who think that's moral are nothing short of a creep, and the California Senate is full of them. Also, not seeing an age limit for this law, so little 5-year-old Sally who wants to become Sammy, the teachers cannot notify the parents of that. Are the lawmakers really going to pretend that one blanket law like this is the best way to handle such a fragile issue that these progressives have created, by the way, with their constant, kids aren't dumb. They see things, they hear things, and they've created this very weird issue. It's a fragile issue. And I don't think this blanket law is going to handle such a fragile issue. Like I said, Musk said this is the final straw because this law and many others that have come before it attack families and companies. So therefore, SpaceX is going to move its headquarters from Hawthorne, California to Starbase, Texas. And he also added that he has made it clearer to Governor Gavin Newsom, and he said this to Governor Gavin Newsom about a year ago, that laws of this nature are going to force families and companies to leave California to protect their kids. Yeah, you got to leave California at this rate to protect your kids from groomers. How is the state claiming they're going to protect your kids from their parents when the parents have done nothing? They haven't done anything wrong to them. So the state's claiming, hey, we're going to protect your kids from parents, but you haven't even done anything. Minors have a harder time connecting their actions to the future, meaning a student that may want to socially and medically transition at the age of 15 might later regret this. They might have some regret because there is irreversible damage done in these gender transition surgeries. So the state is really going to cause a lot of harm. I do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Subscribe to me on YouTube. And you can find me on YouTube by typing into the search bar Conservative Cat Show, which is really easy. All right, we'll be right back. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. And be sure to subscribe and grab a bottle of your very own Patriot Pump. This is a pre-workout. I've got the fruit punch flavor. It's empty. I've got my empty bottle here, which proves that I use it. But this is a great product. I wanted to smell it. It still smells like fruit punch. But you just take 1 scoop with a little bit of water, about 12 ounces. And there's no artificial dye, so it's just like this. It doesn't turn like a red color, but there's black pepper extract in here. There's all kinds of good things that keep you focused all day long, and it will help enhance your workout if you would like to work out. So go buy your bottle of Patriot Pump. They bring you the broadcast every day. So when we come back, we're going to talk about crooked Joe Biden's presidency. We're going to talk about these progressive prosecutors and how they have become emboldened and prioritize getting criminals off rather than getting justice for the victims. Okay, so that's what they do in progressive states like Illinois, New York, California. Progressives think, hey, what can we do for the criminal? Not how can we provide justice for the victim. So we're going to be chatting a little bit about Madeline Brame, her son. There was a great clip from the RNC, so we're going to be chatting a little bit about that. I might wrap up the groomer law out of California. I think that's important. What else have we got going on today? We're cooking. We also have the DEI agent who killed President Donald Trump. She's caught on another video. This is the hospital video. It was 100%, 1,000,000% preventable. I just still can't believe that the Secret Service the Secret Service director said, "Oh, the reason why we didn't have Secret Service agents up on that roof is because it's sloped." What? Wait a second. You didn't put Secret Service, but then it was totally fine for them to go up onto the roof and quickly, I guess, grab the assailant, the shooter, because they shot him, killed him. So they went up to collect his body. What were the secret agents like? Oh, we have to be careful. This roof is sloped. We might fall. What? I don't even know how this makes sense. So when you say sloped roof, it wasn't like caving in. It wasn't like sloped like this. It was just a regular roof that's kind of pointed like this. Secret Service agents are and then the Secret Service agents who shot the assailant they were on a sloped roof. So it's just incredible, and it just gets worse and worse. The excuses that they come up with. So the more they excuse their reprehensible response to the shooter, the worse it starts to look. And the more people start to question, was this planned? Was this staged? Or was this a planned event where they wanted to kill President Donald Trump, the CIA, like they did with JFK? So new footage shows Trump the moment he walked into the hospital after nearly being killed. Patients in the waiting room feared the worst. They thought that he got shot in the head. Okay, because a lot of people, they probably didn't know what happened unless they were at the rally. So the patients, they heard the news and they were like, how bad is it? And then in this video, our favorite DEI agent, the woman who couldn't even holster her gun, she's pictured in this video. And she looks like she is just out of place. She has no idea what she's doing. So we're going to be unpacking that video here on Conservative Cat. It'll just be a couple minutes. Hang out for a bit. We'll be right back. Good morning. Oh, little Adam. He's out there again with his keyboard, and he's being the keyboard warrior we all know and love. So Adam Kingsinger's out there. He's big mad that Nikki Haley actually endorsed President Donald Trump at the RNC. And that's, of course, Adam Kingsinger. He says, of course he does, because you never cared about anything in your life. So he says this to Nikki Haley's tweet. I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my full endorsement. Our country is at a critical moment. We have a choice to make. For more than a year, I said that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. After seeing the debate, everybody knows that this is true. Everybody knows that a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris. And we know that this is true after watching Joe Biden just trip all over himself during that debate. And Adam Kingsinger, he gets out there and he says, of course he has your full endorsement, Nikki, because you never cared about anything in your life. What? Get out of here, Adam. Get out of here. You know, I think it's interesting the people who didn't show up to the Republicans who didn't show up to the RNC. You've got your George Bush. You've got Adam Kingsinger, who claims that he's a Republican. He's not. He's what he does, he makes money off of insane rhetoric and off of the rhetoric and the Trump derangement syndrome that he suffers from. So that's what he does. He makes money off of that. So before we took the break, I was telling you guys a little bit about California's new law. I want to wrap that up because Elon Musk, he's moving all of his companies out of California into Texas because of this new law. And he warned Governor Gavin Newsom, look, folks, look, Gavin, I'm going to be moving my company, and you're also going to be forcing many families out and companies out of California because they feel like they have to protect their kids from a state that is claiming that they're going to protect the kids from the parents when the parents haven't done anything wrong. So minors, like I said, they have this hard time connecting their actions to the future. That's just the way the brain works at that age. Okay, they just don't understand that their actions have consequences. And a student who wants to socially or medically transition at the age of 15, they might regret it because it could cause irreversible damage. And what about the harm the state causes? Don't parents have a right to protect their kids from that? Because lawmakers are opening up the potential to irreversible abuse by the medical industry, and no one cares. I think that all of these parents in California are going to wind up having big, hefty lawsuits when it's all said and done, because eventually these kids are going to regret these irreversible surgeries that the school pushed on them and kept from the parents. The funny thing is that while the left pretends to hate billionaires and corporations, they're making big pharma the most evil industry of them all. The most are so much richer because they're giving them all these new lifelong patients. That's what this is really about. They're making big pharma rich. They're creating lifelong patients in the school system, and the teachers are complicit in that. Progressives think they're literally God, and they believe that they can make laws about the most fragile part of development, all because they're beholden to an ideology that starts with a deranged lie that a man can be a woman and that a woman can be a man. The amount of harm this law can potentially cause is disturbing, it's reprehensible, it's unfathomable. And these people, I don't know how you sleep at night. How do you, as a teacher, District 87 teacher, and like I said, this has been going on in District 87 for years now. I mean, I had to dig for it and pull it up. This was like from 2 years ago. I found an email that District 87 sent out, and they require staff to, quote, not out youth or disclose their identities to others, including the parents or guardians of that youth, without the youth's written consent. So the youth has to give written consent. So you're going to ask a 5-year-old, hey, little Timmy, I know you want to be Tammy, but we can't tell mommy and daddy until, is it okay if I tell mommy and daddy? Well, I don't know. Well, write down on this piece of paper, sign your name, and let me know if I have your permission to tell mommy and daddy that you want to be Timmy or Tammy. right? I mean, that's how absurd. Society used to protect kids from groomers, and now we're making laws to give groomers more access to minors. And this is absolutely insane. I do want to shift gears. I want to talk about crooked Joe Biden and what a joke his presidency has been. But I also want to talk about the progressive prosecutors that have become emboldened and what they do. They prioritize getting criminals off instead of justice for victims. They hate victims, they love criminals. I'm going to be right back talking about a woman who spoke at the RNC, and she spoke about her son who was stabbed, beaten to death. He was a father. He served in Afghanistan, and Alvin Bragg of New York did absolutely nothing about it. I'm going to be right back. This is Conservative Cat. Be sure to find me on YouTube and subscribe to my channel. I'll be right back. Hey, good morning. Good morning. I so do appreciate it. Made a comment about Clinton and don't ask, don't tell, and it got censored, of course. So I love it. You know, I could imagine Hillary Clinton. She's, whipping up herself some pancakes, making herself a cup of coffee on Sunday morning. And then the powers that be came into the room and they were like, hey, Hillary. Yeah. They didn't get him. What do you mean they didn't get him? They didn't shoot Trump like you had asked. I bet that's how that went down. No, I think it's hilarious that they're saying that it's Iran now. The CIA was like, boom, see you, Trump, and then they were like, oh, it's Iran. We didn't do it. Iran did it. I think that's hilarious. And what really bothers me about that is like, I know it wasn't Iran, and this thing is complete bogus because here's what the Secret Service said about the whole deal. They said, well, we received intel that Iran was plotting an assassination against former President Donald Trump. And that is what led us to increase security before Saturday, so you mean to tell me that little DEI security agent, Secret Service agent over there who can't holster her gun, who's more concerned about if her sunglasses are on her face and ducking, quite literally ducking behind President Donald Trump, you mean to tell me that B team, I'm going to call them the B team, the DEI team, you mean to tell me that is increasing security? You're full of crap. And I know that this Iran thing is just complete nonsense because of that, because the Secret Service said, oh, we actually had increased security today because the assassination attempt plot that hasn't been connected to Matthew Crooks. Isn't it interesting how we have completely stopped talking about the shooter? I'm not seeing anything in the media about who the shooter was, what he did, how he came to it. Like, he almost assassinated a former president and the lead GOP candidate for the 2024 election, and probably, arguably, the most famous person in politics. So, in American politics, ever, probably in history. I mean, next to him would be Abe Lincoln, George Washington, Donald Trump, right there. And we have heard crickets about if he did this alone. And there's no way a 20-year-old boy did this alone. There's no way that a 20-year-old would be able to climb up on that roof with a rifle and army crawl across the roof and have enough time to shoot. He had to have had help. And I understand that there's an investigation pending. We are never going to hear anything about it ever again, probably for, another. Well, and like, we have a timeline, JFK's assassination. We have all the papers that indicate that the CIA was behind that. And that's not even conspiracy theory anymore, folks. We know, but they won't release the documentation. But we know that JFK was taken out by the CIA because the CIA fed JFK some bad intel and he didn't trust them. He wouldn't be goaded into war with Russia. And Donald Trump has said several times, hey, I'm going to end the wars. I'm going to stop all of these wars going on that Joe has created. And they don't like that because they can't feed the beast that is the military industrial complex. So we're going to get to Joe and his joke of a presidency and a lot of these progressive prosecutors that have become emboldened and they have prioritized getting criminals off rather than getting justice for victims, which is exactly why the left means what the left means when they scream about prison reform. If they scream about prison reform or a criminal justice system or fixing the criminal justice system, they mean getting criminals off and ignoring justice for victims. That's what they mean when they scream from the rooftops, prison reform, prison reform. And it has everything to do with promoting lawlessness, the prison reform that they scream about. So it's unclear why the left prioritizes keeping these thugs out of jail while victimizing law-abiding citizens, but it's no surprise that felons love to vote for Democrats. To some rich, out-of-touch libs, well, we're going to get to this story. We're going to get to the story. Hold on. I'll be right back. Hey, it's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I so do appreciate you tuning in each and every day. Go ahead, text me, 309-451-9299. Man, it's going to be a great day. I can just feel it. It's going to be a beautiful day. The sun is shining. It's going to be a little bit cooler today. So I did want to get to this story, Crooked Joe Biden, his joke of a presidency, but I also want to talk about, like I said, that moldy strawberry. If you got that moldy strawberry, Joe Biden, the rest of the carton very quickly turns into just a big pile of mold and mush. Okay. So that extends to the progressive prosecutors in these cities. And I'm talking, Cook County, Kim Foxx. I'm talking New York. I'm talking California. There's a lot of these progressive prosecutors who have become emboldened and prioritized getting criminals off instead of getting justice for victims. And when the left screams about prison reform, it has everything to do with promoting lawlessness and nothing to do with protecting victims and getting justice for victims. So it's unclear why the left prioritize keeping thugs. They prioritize this. They keep thugs out on the street and get them out of jail. And they victimize law-abiding citizens. And it shouldn't come as a surprise, but most felons vote for Democrats, probably because they promise them all kinds of things. Here in Illinois, did you know that we give felons free ID cards? I have to go pay $20 if I wanted to renew my driver's license or go get a new one if I lost it. I have to pay $20 fee. Felons or people in the just any criminal, any convict of any kind. In Illinois, if you're housed in a federal prison, if you're housed in a county jail, you can go get yourself a free driver's license. How is that fair? Hey, I'm a law-abiding citizen, and you get a free driver's license. Doesn't make any sense. But to some of these rich, out-of-touch libs, things like crime and an increase of cost of living are not a concern. But to ordinary Americans, who have to deal with increased crime and have to deal with increased costs of living, these things dramatically affect our lives. Okay, so if you're rich and you can hire your private security and you have this big mansion, and who cares if milk went up $1? It doesn't really affect you. A lot of these out-of-touch liberals, and nothing really affects them because they're not living in reality and in life. But these things dramatically affect our lives. Crime, increased costs, and while progressive policies affect some people more, it's also true that some cannot seem to catch a break while Biden pretends to be in charge, okay? And that brings me to this story, Madeline Brame. Okay, so she has to deal with the increased crime at a much different level. So you might, lock your doors. You might, be taking extra precautions. You might tell the kids, hey, don't be outside too long. Come in after dark or come in before it gets dark outside, okay? In Bloomington, normal. But in New York, a lot of these people are afraid to walk the streets. And I mean, Madeline's story is absolutely just heart-wrenching. When Biden and the Dems pretend they're all for the little guy, remember the name Madeline Brame and remember her son, Hason. So Hason, he was an Afghanistan guy. He went to Afghanistan. He had 3 children. And the left is more concerned with career criminals who've made a living victimizing the Black community. Some Black lives are not seen as worthy to be left. Okay, so this guy is black, Hason. Okay, and the left, they're more concerned with these career criminals, and they are getting these career criminals to vote for them, and they could give a damn if these career criminals are victimizing the black community. And some black lives aren't seen as worthy to the Democrat Party. I'll just say that. And that's been that way for a very, very long time. Civil War, do I need to remind us that it was Southern Democrats who were in favor of slavery, and that it was a Republican president, Abraham Lincoln, who freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation? I don't think I need to remind us that. And again, some black lives just don't matter to the Democrat Party. And one of those black lives is Hason. And Madeline, she spoke at the RNC convention. We're going to play the clip when we come back from the RNC convention. She gave a speech. I'll be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. Thanks so much. Be sure to tune in. This broadcast is brought to you by Patriot Pump, patriotpumpenergy.com. You can get yours today. This is not cheap. It's about $50. But you take a scoop of it every day and you feel amazing. That's all I can say is that you feel amazing. You have a lot of energy, even if you don't work out. It is a pre-workout. I highly recommend you work out on it because it enhances your pump. It enhances your workout. But you can take it as a substitute to your coffee, and I think it's pretty good. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about Madeline Brame. We're also going to talk about some hospital footage that has come out. And then I think I'm going to talk about Joe Biden and his attempt to bash Trump, calling to lower the temperature, and then instead he, bashes Trump, calls him a dictator again, says that he's a threat to democracy. So I'm going to be chatting about that. He spoke at the NAACP. I spoke about it a little bit, but I do want to talk about more of his hypocrisy when he says lower the temperature. He's not actually lowering the temperature with his rhetoric. I'll be right back. Good morning. Hey, it's Conservative Cat, 7:05 a.m. City's 92.9. Hey, I wanted to chat about Madeline Brame. So you heard at the top of the hour about this New York mom who lost her 35-year-old son, Hason. And she lost him to a beating, a stabbing, an attack outside of their Harlem apartment. Now, the theme for the second day of the RNC convention was Make America Safe Again. So that was the theme for the second day of the RNC convention. Here's a clip of her speech, Madeline Brame.
Afghanistan war, retired veteran. He received enemy fire from the Taliban, only to be murdered with a knife on the streets of New York City. The four assailants responsible for his death initially were facing justice, but that changed when District Attorney Alvin Bragg was elected. Suddenly, two of the homicidal maniacs responsible for my son's death had their gang assault and murder charges completely dismissed. One of them received 14 months time served. Alvin Bragg charged her with assault with a shoe. And another one was sentenced to 7 years. I later learned that Alvin Bragg often dismisses and reduces dangerous criminals. He wants to clear the jails and return violent felons onto our streets every day. The injustice was devastating for me and my family. I don't want anyone else to experience the senseless pain that many other victims across this United States of America have to live with every day. So I decided to use the voice that God gave me to be the voice for the voiceless across America. We need justice for victims. And we need accountability for prosecutors who fail in their duty. Soft on crime prosecutors like Alvin Bragg in New York, Kim Foxx in Chicago, and George Gascon in Los Angeles have turned our great country and cities into war zones. Poor and neglected communities like mine are suffering. And who else in here is sick and tired of being sick and tired? The Democratic Party that poor minorities have been loyal to for decades, including myself, all right? They betrayed us. They stabbed us in the back. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who claim to represent us, have abandoned us.
So there you have it. That was Madeline Brame, a New York mom who just lost her 35-year-old son, Hason, to a beating, a stabbing, an attack outside of a Harlem apartment in 2018. He was a father of three. She talked about his time in Afghanistan. and how he received fire. He received enemy fire from the Taliban only to be murdered with a knife on the streets of New York City. And she explained who the four suspects were and how Alvin Bragg pled down their charges because that's just what Alvin Bragg does. And Democrats don't care about who risks their lives for this country. They don't care about anybody. And they don't care about helping those victimized by crime. American victims. They don't care. Can anyone name one thing that the Dems have done in the last 4 years that helped minorities? Really, can anybody name anything? No? I didn't think so. So she yells and she says, but that changed when District Attorney Alvin Bragg was elected. The injustice was devastating for me and my family, and I don't want anybody else to experience this. So they booed Alvin Bragg at the Republican convention, and Madeline, she contended that soft on crime prosecutors like Bragg, she mentioned Cook County, Kim Foxx. She said they have turned our great country and our cities into war zones. If we're up to Dems, every city in America would be like New York, and that's a frightening thought. Every Democrat, I'm telling you, Illinois it's bad, where they are just so soft on crime. I mean, did you hear? They changed the word criminal and offender to what was it? Justice impacted individual. Yes, that is what the Illinois legislature is doing. They really don't care about victims to the point where they're willing to rename offender, criminal, and they're willing to call them justice impacted individuals. The Democrat Party that have, said that they represent the minority community and the poor minorities have been loyal to the Democrat Party for decades. And Madeline says this, she goes, including myself. So she's a Democrat. She goes, they've betrayed us. They've stabbed us in the back. So berating Black Americans has been the founding principle of the DNC. Okay, so this is the founding principle of the Democrat Party, and I encourage you to go look back in history. It was the Democrat Party that enslaved Black Americans. The point is that this party pretends to be all in it for the little guy. They do nothing but hurt the little guy. Democrat policies hurt minorities the most, and it's comical that they like to pretend that they're the compassionate ones. So Madeline, she also accused the Manhattan Democrat District Attorney Alvin Bragg of going easy on the four suspects in the killing of her son. It's heartbreaking that this is the way Madeline found out that the left does everything in its power to hurt people like her and her son, but it only gets worse, and it's horrifying to think that Dems will do the same, do this in every community if they had the chance. And, unfortunately, I've heard stories. Yeah, you don't think it could get much worse, where there's four suspects that gang up on this guy who did nothing wrong. He was just he just was a law-abiding citizen, and these four suspects stabbed him and attacked him. A senseless crime. It's unfathomable as to why the DNC hates Americans so much, but if people want to make America safe again, keeping leftists in power is the worst thing we can do. It's the worst thing that we could possibly do. And this is an example. I've heard even worse examples, of criminals getting off. Actually, and I think about this all of the time. Governor J.B. Pritzker made it to where, if you're 18, 19 years old and you commit a crime, a heinous crime, 18, 19-year-olds, teenagers, they cannot get life, in prison. And that's terrifying. It's actually terrifying. There's a guy who sits on some sort of criminal justice reform panel or nonprofit organization. And I'll never forget it. JB, he pardons this individual. He received life at the age of 18, 19 years old, and he touted this guy. He's a Black guy. And he goes, oh, well, we're going to change the law where 18 to 19-year-olds don't get life in prison. And, this is why I'm pardoning my friend here. And forgive me, I forget the guy's name, the criminal's name. It doesn't really matter. This guy isn't a legend of any kind, but he comes to Harlem Community College. He sits and he, speaks on these panels and talks about, his time in prison. And yes, maybe he is a reformed individual, but that doesn't change the fact that he lied about being a handyman. I think he went in there to go fix a ceiling fan, kills these people, burns these people up in this apartment. And he lied about who he was, went in there as a maintenance guy, killed these people. Gosh, I won't ever forget the story where this guy, 18, 19, I don't know, he's a teenager at the time. He goes in and he stabs this person multiple times. He's laying in the bed and he says, you got any money? And to the victim, and the victim says, well, I've got some over in that box over there. And he's laying bleeding out on the bed, and he goes, okay, get up and get it for me. So then the victim goes and gets the money and gives it to, this blood-soaked money, and hands it to the criminal who just stabbed him and then watched him bleed out and then lit the apartment on fire. Okay, this is the heinous crime that this individual, JB, pardons him, then uses him as a pawn to tout these prison reform law where 18, 19-year-olds can't get life in Illinois. It doesn't get much worse than that. It's unfathomable. So we need to make America safe again, keep these leftists from getting into power because they do what JB does. Okay. And yeah. All right. I got to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about this new footage shows Trump the moment he walked into the hospital after nearly being killed. The patients in the waiting room, they were all fearing the worst. They thought that it was bad. They did not know, it was just grazed the ear. Nobody knew really, except those at the rally who saw him pump up his fist in the air and say, fight. A lot of them were probably like, oh, okay, he's going to be okay. But these people at this hospital, they didn't know. They feared the worst. They thought he was coming in with a huge head injury, a huge bullet to the brain. But also in this video, we get to see our favorite DEI agent. So this woman, we saw, in all the footage at the Trump rally where she ducks behind the president, where she struggles to holster her gun. She's also featured in this footage. And she struggles to do just the basic part of her job, which is just get out of the car and survey the area of the hospital. She's struggling in this video. So I'm going to come back. We're going to talk about how DEI nearly killed President Donald Trump. And you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, good morning. We're going to be talking about a DEI agent, a Secret Service agent. Absolutely incredible. This woman couldn't even holster her gun. We saw this in the footage of the Trump rally. And then we see more footage. There's new footage. The moment Trump walked into the hospital after nearly being killed, and the patients in the waiting room, they feared the worst, but then they saw Donald Trump walking through the hospital doors and they were like, oh, everything's going to be okay. And the energy in that hospital, truly exciting, contagious, infectious. So DEI nearly killed President Donald Trump, especially considering the shooting was 1,000,000% preventable. Totally preventable. There's no way. I love the sloped roof thing. So many memes. Sloped roof. I mean, come on. A sloped roof is what stopped. You had to go up and get the shooter after you shot him down, right? And he's dead and he's up on the roof. Somebody had to go up on the roof and bring him down. If the roof was, sloped and unsafe for Secret Service agents to be up there, then I mean, what did the Secret Service agents do when they had to go get the body? Were they like, oh, we got to get down right away? The sloped roof, we're gonna fall off. Come on. It was totally preventable. Even if these people are so mentally incompetent and lack sensibility, they got several warnings from Trump supporters. Hey, there's a guy up on the roof. There's a guy up on the roof with the gun. But they chose to ignore it for some odd reason. Strange. I don't know. Why would they ignore warnings that somebody was up on the roof with a gun planning to shoot the president? Clearly. All right. So this new footage is really interesting. So here's the story. Epoch Times. They've got it. With temperatures in the 90s, an ambulance was making round trips between the July 13th Pennsylvania Trump rally, so it's really, really hot, and the Butler Memorial Hospital. So that was in Butler County, Pennsylvania, or in Butler, and it's Beaver County, Pennsylvania. So they were going back and forth, a lot of these Trump rally. I mean, they're older. A few of the rally attendees are older. It's hot, heat exhaustion, very common. So an ambulance comes for Karen Foerster. She's 53, who is among those to be overcome by the heat. Okay. And her husband, Rick, 56, attended most Trump rallies within a 100-mile radius of their Beaver County, Pennsylvania home. So her and her husband, Rick, they go and they get front row seats. This is the first time they had front row seats right there by President Donald Trump. However, the heat was a bit too much for them, so they checked into a nearby hospital because Rick also felt sick. Karen felt sick. So Miss Foerster went into the room with the nurse and noticed the nurse was watching the Trump rally on her computer. And the nurse took her for a test, and on the way back, the husband came running in with the news of Trump being shot. Okay, so Miss Foerster's back there in the room with the nurse. She notices the nurse was watching the Trump rally on her computer, and she goes, okay, that's kind of weird. So the nurse then took her for, the test to make sure she was okay from the heat exhaustion. And on her way back, the husband came into the room and started shouting, hey, Karen, Trump just got shot in the head. And Rick told the Epoch Times that he had been near another rally attendee who had received the phone call from someone still at the rally who reported what had happened. So Rick and Karen, they were both at the rally, and he got a phone call from somebody who was still at the rally, and they told him what had happened. That must have been some crazy news. You're in the hospital, you were 5 feet away from the president, who was just nearly killed. Just imagine you almost being 5 feet away from the president. For some odd reason, Karen and Rick, they went to I don't know if it was divine intervention or what, but Rick and Karen, they were, they left the Trump rally and they went to the hospital because of some heat exhaustion. So the nurse and Karen, they were in total disbelief because the nurse was watching the Trump rally too on the computer, and they were like shocked. And the woman they met in the waiting room fell against the wall immediately and started crying. So she started, I know when I first saw the news, but I saw the video where he pumps his fist up in the air and I knew he was okay. I know I cried a little bit. I got misty-eyed when Trump came down with COVID. I didn't think he was going to make it. At that point, I had gotten COVID prior to Trump getting COVID, and I knew, I was like, there's no way that 70-something-year-old man is going to get through this. But he did. He also got through getting shot at. But the woman, she started crying in the hospital room, or in the hospital, different woman, a bystander. So the people in the waiting room, they were in disbelief and basically freaking out because they all knew that Trump was shot and they presumed he was dead or he was in bad shape because they weren't at the rally. They were at the hospital and they didn't see him pump his fist up in the air. So the next thing I know, this is what Miss Foerster said. So Karen, she goes, the next thing I know, cops fly in, Secret Service flies up, and the shortest girl gets out and starts, pointing at windows and doors and telling people where to go. So the short, Secret Service agent starts, pointing, telling people where to go. It struck Karen that they had witnessed a moment in history from a different vantage point, and than most people experienced it that day. So they were at the hospital just, a short while away from the rally, and they had just been at the rally. So the couple left the hospital that evening, and Karen is actually in much better health. She's great, and she's grateful for her little bit of illness because it sent them to the hospital. And like, this video is just absolutely, it just shows the moment where Trump, he was walking out of the armored vehicle. And, it shows a man, the video actually shows a guy getting up out of the wheelchair, out of his wheelchair. So he gets up out of his wheelchair. He's, in this wheelchair, and he gets up when Trump walks into the hospital. And everybody just goes, thank God he's okay. Thank God he's okay. As soon as they see Trump walk out of the car and into the hospital. So you can feel the energy in that room when you're watching this video. And you can hear people screaming, he's walking, he's walking, he's walking. They clearly thought Trump was dead. And it must have been really surreal seeing him walk in like that. So this video is going around, it's circulating. And another thing I saw in the video was this DEI woman. So the Karen, she described her as the shortest Secret Service agent. She's very, very short. She can't be more than like 5'2", which is, and this is a problem that persists today, is that DEI is deadly. Okay, and it's so clear with this DEI agent that she has no idea what she's doing in this video. She continues to look confused. She looked confused at the rally. She's having trouble like holstering her gun. She doesn't know when to pull her gun out. Other Secret Service agents, the men, you can tell that they know automatically when to pull their gun out. They're like, okay, we pull them out here. And it's like very synchronized. And you can see that they are trained to pull it out at certain times. But this woman has no idea where she's at. And really, this is the best the agency could do when it comes to giving Trump protection. And like I said, Iran, they're blaming Iran for the assassination. Well, they haven't made the connection yet to Matthew Crooks, but they're saying that, hey, Iran had, we've received intel that Iran was plotting an assassination attempt against Trump. So that day before Saturday, we increased his Secret Service detail. We increased security. You mean to tell me that's increased security? I'd hate to see what decreasing security looks like. You guys sent in the DEI B team. Okay, so unclear why they didn't secure the inside of the building that the roof or that the guy was on. But we're dealing with mentally stupid people, these DEI people who could care less about their job, really. These DEI agents, I think that they're just there because the Secret Service director, said, hey, I want to make it my goal to where we have 30% of the workforce are women. She actually came out and said that. So at this point, it's unclear if they know they are supposed to protect Trump's life. I don't even know if this woman really knows that her job was to protect Trump's life. She ducks behind him, and I hope to God that it's not, anything vicious or, where they like purposefully made it to where, they ducked behind him, and I hope that it is just negligence, but it's hard to make sense of all of this. I do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We'll be right back.
Small businesses couldn't cover their June rent in Illinois, but they say conditions are improving. Kevin Bessler reports. The Small Business Network Reliable survey showed that there was a 10% decrease in businesses with rent doubles in the land of Lincoln. Nationwide, 46% of small business owners reported rent difficulties, the highest delinquency rate since March 2021. 55% said that the still high interest rate is really hurting their businesses, and that's the highest it's been since at least December. That is researcher Chuck Castro. He says many small business owners tell him that the bottom line is having to return to pre-pandemic levels. We can't afford to expand, and we still can't afford everything that we need to keep growing. In fact, we're in survival mode. The top three industries dealing with rent trouble are science, technology, and manufacturing. I'm Kevin Bessler. City of Bloomington Arts and Entertainment announced Thursday that country star Trace Atkins will be performing in Bruce on Friday, October 25th. Tickets available at the box office or Ticketmaster.com. News on the air, on the web, on your app, and on Alexa. I'm Tom Davis. Here's the Bloomington normal forecast on Cities 92.9. Sunny today with a high of 77. Tonight, clear skies overnight, low down to 53. On Friday, mostly sunny with a high of 78. The weekend, Saturday, sunny with a high of 81. And Sunday, partly sunny with a high near 82. This weather report is lifted by DHB's Garage Doors, residential and commercial garage doors and entry doors since 1926. Schedule service at dhbasegaragedoors.com.
This hour of Conservative Cat is brought to you by Annie's Eats. Enjoy scratch-made signs, including brand and iron beans and hand-cut fries. Call ahead for pickup to see their full menu of their award-winning barbecue at Annie'sEatsPhono.com. At Jackson Accounting Plus, they're rock stars, but instead of microphones and guitars, they use spreadsheets. Focus on growing your business and servicing your customers while Jackson Plus handles payroll and bookkeeping. Jackson Accounting Plus offers effective accounting and bookkeeping codes and preparing your financial records and reports, allowing you to focus on your business and become more profitable. Paid for by Christian Care Ministry.
You know, a lot of times you can choose between something high quality or something that saves you money. If you can get both, why not? Especially when it comes to healthcare. And that is MediShare. You get both. Many families save $500 a month with MediShare. That's huge. But it's also true that people wind up way more satisfied too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double than a typical health insurance plan. Double. That's because MediShare works. It has for more than 30 years. It's a community of Christians who share more than $5 billion of attorney bills. People love having telehealth. People love having your network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton while you get better. But just get happy and have to take care of your health. So if you're self-employed or working in the economy or just a plan to lower your well, right now, your price is 2 minutes. Here's the number. Just call 855-51-BIBLE. That's 855-51-BIBLE.
Over where? There. Where? There, over there.
The Fox Business Report is
What are we talking about?
attendees new block box one, making it
Huh?
easier for business.
Over there. Over where? There. Where? There, over there. What are we talking about?
Please, just come inside.
John, my handsome groom, my best friend, my baby. Today's our day.
Imagine creating 10.
I lost 60 pounds. My name's Alyssa. I'm the bride. This is my first drink. My name is Brenna. This is my first drink of the night. My name's Fran, and this is my first drink of the night. My name's Marina. This is my first drink of the night. Your name is Sissy, and it's your last drink.
Every major question.
Bye-bye, bitch.
Wolf, Host, a new Annual meeting of
I don't want to.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us. It's what people do. That's why Steve is one of the fastest growing global wealth management investment bankers in the industry. Steve is where success meets success. Start your journey at Steve.com. That's STIFEL.com.
At Tax and Accounting Plus, they're rock stars, but instead of microphones and guitars, they use spreadsheets. Focus on growing your business and servicing your customers while Tax and Accounting Plus handles your payroll and bookkeeping. Find the experts at taxaccountingplus.com.
Woohoo! Hey, good morning. It's Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Coming up in just a little bit, the Biden campaign is in trouble, and the best they can do is really project their failures and call Donald Trump Hitler. That's all they can do at this point. I mean, it is in trouble. Now, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but Joe Biden said, and I've got the story here. It's weird. He contracts COVID-19. I hope he's all right. I'm not wishing any ill on the former vice president. However, he does say that he's going to quit the presidential race if a medical condition emerges. So shortly after saying that, he comes down with COVID-19. Pretty peculiar. Not sure. I mean, I'm just saying, Joe Biden, you need to start checking, make sure you get your coffee in the morning, okay? I don't know. I called it when it happened, the attempted assassination, at the DNC's freaking out. I don't know if they're going to come up with somebody new or what, but Joe Biden should watch his back. He really should, because who knows? We're kind of in this weird part of history right now where perhaps Joe Biden sees an attempted assassination attempt, or almost gets assassinated this election season. I don't know. The deep state is a very tricky animal. So Joe Biden, he's in uncharted waters right now, and I'm praying for him, hoping for a speedy recovery from COVID-19. It's odd, though, that shortly after he says that, hey, if a medical condition arises, I will drop out of the presidential race. Okay. I do want to talk about an Illinois story here quickly. Then I'll get to Joe Biden. But lawmakers are skeptical of some motives behind a 6-year commitment to improve all forms of infrastructure in the state of Illinois. So in 2023, we know Pritzker, he announced all of this money for infrastructure projects, okay? It's called Rebuild Illinois. This is a program. It's supposed to go through 2029. And he was recently at a St. Clair County Public Safety Center. So they unveiled this center. It cost $15 million. $10 million of that $15 million came from the Rebuild Illinois infrastructure program. So yeah, taxpayers are paying for this thing. It's a big facility. Now, what I don't understand is how it's going to help people at all. Okay, so this is supposed to serve as some sort of administrative hub, and it's supposed to be the center where, the sheriff, the St. Clair County Sheriff's Department. Now, this is in southern Illinois, right outside of East St. Louis, St. Clair County. Now, this facility is supposed to house, Metro Transit, St. Clair County Sheriff's Department, Metro Transit, Public Safety. So I guess, and I'm assuming that there's a lot of issues with the transit system, people being possibly attacked, stabbed on the Metro, on public transit. They might have an issue with public safety. So they built this, this center, and it's supposed to be an administrative hub for all of these different agencies, these government agencies. And they claim that this is going to increase communication and that this is going to provide a reliable transit system that's safe. Okay. So a couple things wrong here. We've got this administrative hub. Remember when they said that the money back when he passed this in 2023, I think it was Governor J.B. Pritzker, all this money. I mean, $41 billion. That's not chump change. Billion with a B. They said, oh, it's going to go towards hard infrastructure. Okay, number one, this is not hard infrastructure. This is a facility, an administrative hub. There's already places where the sheriff's department, where the Metro Transit people, the Bureau of Transit Police, where they can all congregate. They have their own facilities. This is just a hub. So it's not like they were without a building or a facility prior to this facility being built. Number two, Pritzker, during this news conference, he had this ribbon cutting ceremony. You know, politicians are out there, their little scissors and they're cut. I don't think that this is going to do much for travel, for safety. It's a building. Okay, so Pritzker says during this news conference, thanks to this facility, thousands will commute to work and school, and they'll travel safely to see their families and visit other places throughout the state and possibly other states with great ease and peace of mind. Okay, if you are being robbed on a transit, on a train or public transportation, or if you're, encountering criminals on public transportation in the East St. Louis area, I highly doubt a building is going to do much for you. I think that going after hardened criminals and repealing the Safety Act would probably help more than a building where these agencies can congregate and bolster communications and security collaborations, whatever the hell that means. So Chris Miller, he gets out there and he says this. If you remember, Pritzker was one of the driving forces behind the Safety Act, which the title itself is a complete joke, by the way, because they made everyone actually less safe with the Safety Act. This is, ending cash bail. This is, changing the criteria of which, you're imprisoned. But if they're truly interested in making a safer environment for citizens in East St. Louis, there has to be severe enough consequences for your bad behavior so it actually produces a different life choice. Okay, so the consequence has to be severe enough, then the crime ends. And if not, it continues. If there's no consequences, if there's no accountability, if your consequences aren't severe enough, then that's never going to encourage good behavior. So the Safety Act penalizes the victim, it rewards the criminal, and I don't think a building is going to do much other than make people feel warm and fuzzy inside. And that's really what this is all about. So I got to dig in more to this because it's really rooted and insane how this building, I truly do believe, and Chris Miller says he believes that this is an election year gimmick. Any ribbon cutting ceremony, this is a big red flag. Hey, why are they doing this? And ask yourself why 5 times. That's what I encourage you to do. Ask yourself why. Why are they doing this? Why would this facility go up? What's going on? So I'm going to get to the why, because it's much more, it's deeper than just, wanting people to feel warm and fuzzy. I really do believe that. I'm back next. This is Conservative Cat Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Blooming tomorrow. a blessed day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Love you.